She waited for messages that never came, held promises that slowly faded, and trusted hearts that didn't stay. When the world quietly walked away, she didn't scream, she didn't beg, she simply looked upward, because when a woman has no one but God, love doesn't end, it transforms. She once believed love was a hand that would never let go. She believed in late-night conversations, shared dreams, and the comfort of someone saying, "I'm here." Her heart learned to love deeply, innocently, without conditions. But love, as she knew it, did not stay. It changed its voice, its promises, and eventually its presence. The silence that followed was louder than any goodbye. In the beginning, she blamed herself. She wondered if loving too much was her mistake. Every memory felt like a soft wound, every smile she once trusted felt distant. The world kept moving, people kept laughing, but her heart stayed behind, holding on to what was lost. She didn't lose love all at once, she lost it slowly, piece by piece, until there was no one left to lean on. Loneliness became her companion, not the kind that screams, but the kind that sits quietly beside you at night. She learned what it meant to be strong in silence, to wipe her own tears, to whisper hope when her voice trembled. When friends faded and love failed, she reached the end of human comfort. And that was where something unexpected began. When a woman has no one but God, she doesn't find him loudly. She finds him in the quiet moments, in prayers without words, in tears that fall like confessions. She begins to understand a different kind of love, one that doesn't promise forever and then leave, one that doesn't grow tired of her broken pieces. God became the place where her heart rested, not as a replacement for love, but as the source of it. She learned that being alone didn't mean being abandoned. In faith, she found a presence that stayed when everyone else walked away. A love that didn't demand perfection, only honesty. A love that healed without asking for anything in return. Slowly, she changed, not because pain disappeared, but because it no longer controlled her. Her heart softened, her eyes grew calmer, and her silence carried peace instead of sorrow. She didn't stop believing in love, she just learned where love truly begins. When a woman has no one but God, she doesn't lose herself, she finds herself. She becomes patient, grounded, and quietly powerful. Her story is no longer about who left, but about who stayed. And in that divine love, she discovers that she was never alone at all. She loved with the kind of heart that never measured risk. For her, love was not a strategy, it was a surrender. She trusted easily, not because she was weak, but because she believed that feelings spoken softly were meant to be protected. Every promise felt real to her, every reassurance felt permanent. She didn't question intentions, she honored them. In her world, love was something sacred, something you held with care, something you never used as a weapon. When love began to change, she felt it before she understood it. The warmth in words grew colder, the pauses between replies grew longer, and the presence she once relied on slowly became distant. She told herself it was temporary, that love sometimes needs silence. But deep inside, her heart sensed the shift. Trust does not break loudly, it fractures quietly, in moments that seem small but carry unbearable weight. She tried to hold love together with patience. She explained, she waited, she forgave things that hurt more than they should have. Each act of forgiveness cost her something unseen. She reshaped herself to fit what was left of love, believing that endurance was proof of devotion. Her heart learned to bend where it should have been protected. Love, which once felt like safety, slowly became uncertainty wrapped in hope. When trust finally broke, it didn't shatter her in one moment. It unraveled her gently, day by day. She questioned her worth, replayed conversations, and searched for mistakes that could explain why love slipped through her fingers. The betrayal was not just in being left, but in realizing that the heart she gave so freely was handled without care. The pain taught her how deeply she was capable of feeling. Yet even in that breaking, something within her began to form. Love stripped her of illusions and left behind truth. She learned the difference between attention and commitment, between words and consistency. Her soul absorbed lessons her heart never wanted to learn. Trust, once given without fear, became something precious, something earned. The love that broke her trust did not destroy her capacity to love, it refined it. It carved depth into her emotions and awareness into her heart. She emerged softer yet wiser, still capable of loving, but no longer unaware of her own value. The breaking shaped her soul into something more conscious, more grounded, more real. Loneliness did not arrive in her life as a storm, it came like a quiet evening with no footsteps left to wait for. It settled gently into her days, filling the spaces where voices once lived. At first, she feared it. She believed loneliness meant failure, that being alone was proof she had not been enough for someone to stay. The silence felt heavy, like a question with no answer, pressing against her heart in moments when she least expected it. She tried to escape it by staying busy, surrounding herself with distractions, convincing herself that noise could replace connection. But loneliness followed her patiently. It appeared in the pauses between tasks, in the nights when the world slowed down, in the moments when she reached for her phone and found nothing waiting. Slowly, she realized loneliness was not chasing her, it was inviting her to sit with herself. In that stillness, she began to listen. Loneliness taught her how to observe her own thoughts without interruption. She discovered feelings she had ignored while loving someone else, dreams she had postponed, and wounds she had covered with affection. Without an audience, her heart spoke honestly. The absence of others became a mirror, reflecting parts of herself she had never taken time to know. Loneliness also taught her independence of the heart. She learned how to comfort herself, how to survive an ache without seeking immediate rescue. The strength she developed was quiet, uncelebrated, but deeply real. She stopped waiting for someone to validate her existence. Each day alone became a lesson in self-trust, a reminder that her presence was enough to fill a room. What once felt like punishment slowly revealed itself as preparation. Loneliness gave her clarity. It showed her the difference between wanting company and needing connection. She learned that not all togetherness is meaningful and not all solitude is empty. Her standards for love began to rise, shaped by the peace she found in being alone. Through loneliness, she learned patience. She learned how to sit with unanswered questions without rushing toward the wrong arms. The silence trained her heart to be still, to breathe through longing instead of surrendering to it. Loneliness became the space where her faith grew stronger, where unseen strength replaced desperation, where her heart learned to wait without fear when human love failed her. It didn't leave suddenly. It faded in ways that were almost gentle, like a light dimming rather than turning off. She reached out and found emptiness where warmth once lived. Words that used to hold her now felt hollow, and promises that once felt unbreakable dissolved into silence. In the absence of human affection, her heart stood exposed, unsure of where to rest. At first, she turned to memories. She replayed moments, clung to laughter, and tried to revive feelings that no longer existed. But memories could not hold her when the nights grew heavy. People she once trusted had limits. Their love came with conditions, moods, and endings. She reached the point where there was no one left to lean on, no familiar voice to call her back into safety. It was in that emptiness that she looked toward God, not out of ritual but out of exhaustion. Her prayers were not polished or rehearsed, they were broken, trembling, and honest. She spoke to God the way she once spoke to someone she loved, with vulnerability, with need, with an open heart that had nothing left to hide. There were no expectations of being understood by the world anymore, only a hope of being heard by the divine. God's presence did not rush in to erase her pain. It arrived slowly, like peace settling into a restless heart. She felt held without being touched, understood without being questioned. Unlike human love, this love did not grow distant when she was weak. It did not ask her to explain herself or justify her tears. It stayed constant, unchanging, patient. In God, she found a love that did not compete with her past but healed it. The affection she once sought in people was replaced by a sense of belonging that did not depend on circumstances. She learned that love could exist without fear of loss. God became the place where her heart could rest without performing, without pleasing, without proving her worth. As she grew closer to God, her understanding of love transformed. She no longer begged to be chosen or feared being forgotten. The divine love she embraced filled the emptiness human love had left behind, teaching her that when everything else falls away, love still remains in the form that never leaves. There came a moment when she realized she could no longer fight what she felt. Holding her emotions tightly had only made them heavier. Every unspoken word, every restrained tear, every unanswered question weighed on her chest. Emotional surrender did not mean giving up, it meant allowing herself to feel without resistance. She stopped pretending she was strong when she was exhausted and stopped hiding her pain behind calm expressions. In surrendering emotionally, she let herself fall apart in private. She cried without apology, admitted her fear, and acknowledged her loneliness. These moments were not dramatic or loud, they were intimate and honest. She stopped asking why things happened and began accepting that some answers would never arrive. Letting go of control felt terrifying at first, like stepping into darkness without knowing where she would land. As she surrendered, something within her softened. The tension she carried for so long began to loosen. She stopped trying to fix everything with logic and allowed faith to step in where certainty failed. Emotional surrender opened the door to trust, not in people or outcomes, but in a presence greater than her understanding. She learned that strength was not always about standing tall, sometimes it was about kneeling quietly. Spiritual strength did not arrive as confidence or clarity. It formed slowly, built from moments of stillness and prayer. Each time she released her need to control the future, her heart grew steadier. She began to feel supported in ways that did not rely on reassurance from others. Her faith became a refuge, a place where her emotions were not judged or minimized. Through surrender, her pain transformed into resilience. The wounds she once tried to hide became the source of her compassion. She grew more patient with herself, more forgiving of her past, more gentle with her heart. Spiritual strength replaced emotional chaos, not by removing feeling, but by grounding it in trust. She learned that surrender was not weakness, but alignment. By releasing her emotional burdens into something higher, she found balance. The storms inside her no longer dictated her direction. Her spirit stood firm even when her emotions trembled, anchored in faith, guided by acceptance, strengthened by the quiet power that comes from letting go. She did not wake up one day transformed. Her rebirth was gradual, shaped by countless quiet moments that no one witnessed. Faith grew in her not as certainty, but as trust built through waiting. She learned patience in the spaces where answers were delayed and prayers felt unanswered. Each pause taught her endurance, each delay taught her reliance on something beyond immediate comfort. Her faith was tested when nothing around her changed. The world remained the same, people came and went, and life continued without explanation. Yet something within her shifted. She stopped measuring progress by visible results and began recognizing inner peace as growth. Patience became her language of love, spoken silently through acceptance rather than demand. Unseen love surrounded her in ways she could not always describe. It was present in the strength that carried her through difficult days, in the calm that replaced her anxiety, in the hope that returned even after disappointment. This love did not announce itself or seek acknowledgement. It worked quietly, rebuilding her heart from the inside, teaching her to trust without needing proof. As her faith deepened, she became less reactive and more reflective. She no longer rushed toward what felt urgent. She learned to wait with dignity, to choose peace over chaos, and to protect her heart without closing it. Patience refined her character, making her gentle without making her fragile, strong without making her rigid. Her rebirth was visible in the way she carried herself. There was calm in her eyes and steadiness in her voice. She no longer feared being alone because she understood the presence that walked with her. Love was no longer something she searched for outside herself, it flowed from a connection that could not be taken away. Faith taught her surrender, patience taught her endurance, and unseen love taught her worth. Together, they reshaped her identity. She moved forward not as someone broken by loss, but as someone strengthened by belief, grounded in trust, and guided by a love that asked nothing yet gave everything.